Okay, so time now for our discussion zone.
Nobody knows tomorrow. Inyako ni maishi nekedo. What's up, it's Trigmatic and you're on Africa Global Radio. Our story, our growth, our future. Check out www.africaglobalradio.com where Africa lives. We're telling you the African story.
Yeah, like that one. Okay, welcome back. So let's go straight and start conversation. So we're marking the South Africa Youth Month, in as much as it's going to be falling on the 16th of June. But you know, the entire month is actually the month for the youth in South Africa. We were supposed to be connected to Tsholofelo Mashego, a global success advocate, to also tell us more about this particular month and how it's been observed in South Africa, and what's what's their intention for this year's celebration and all of that. But that is proving to be a bit difficult here, but we'll still try to see if we can connect with her. But let's start the conversation here in the studio, and let's just go straight and tie. But before that, let me bring in Hafiz. Hafiz,
Barry.
head of the South Africa Youth Month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there happens to be some interesting story behind it.
Yeah. Youth Month in South Africa.
Right.
Yes. I think we've all, heard about it.
Right.
And from the little I know of the Youth Month in South Africa, it's one of those days that is set aside to, celebrate the contributions of the youth. Especially in mapping out the socio-political landscape of South Africa.
Right.
And usually when you talk about that month, the Soweto uprising comes up. That is the one in 76.
Yeah.
Yes. And largely, historical records will tell you that, that's riot or that uprising happened as a result of the introduction of African language as a medium of instruction in the schools.
In school, yeah.
Yes, and something the youth didn't take kindly to, and it led to all kinds of issues because, there was some sort of consciousness that was seeping through the minds of youth as at the time, and so they didn't take too kindly to being, taught in the language of the oppressor.
So they wanted to be taught in their own mother language.
Yes,
like the Zulu
it was even
language.
English. The whole policy started even before usually they blame the introduction of the African language, but if you look at the genesis of it all, there were certain events that led to this, and the introduction of the African language was just simply the straw that broke the camel's back. Yes, that was just it.
Okay.
Because if you look at the genesis of it all, it started with what they call the introduction of the Bantu, Education Act of 1953.
Okay.
Yes, and essentially what this act was supposed to do was to oppress the black communities through inferior education.
Okay.
Yes, so it was just basically to take over the education system and make it very uncomfortable for any black man to find some form of formal education.
Okay.
So if you look at the man that was behind it, or he was called Hendrik. Okay, the other name is such a mouthful. I don't know how to make it, but Hendrik. Now, in one of his
South African.
Yes, a South African. Now, in one of his quotes, the one that was behind it, he said that look, that natives, and he was making reference to Africans, that natives must be taught from an early age that equality with Europeans is not for them. So this was the thinking of the man that was behind, the Bantu Education Act of 1953.
Okay.
And so through the implementation of this, you saw that a lot of the schools, the black community were, that was available to the black community. The schools were essentially death traps. Yes, the teacher-student ratio was somewhere around 46 to 1. Around 67, it moved up to somewhere 58 to 1. So it was just there.
And no infrastructure actually to complement that.
Yes, and even the teachers that were there were underqualified.
Whoa.
Yes. So what sort of education was it? Okay, and there was so much attention given to the white schools. And in terms of budgetary allocations, the white-dominated schools were doing so much better. You are talking about some 644 rand that was, allocated to each white person that went to school. Unlike the each.
Whoa.
Annually. Unlike the 42 rand that was allocated to the black schools, to the black man.
to the entire.
Yes, to a black month. So what it meant was that
Whoa!
yes, an entire year, your budget was
42
around 42
rand.
rand. For the whites, an individual takes somewhere around the budget's around 644 rand
What?
then. So that was the difference. Now that's not even the worst part.
Well, for me, I think that's like the worst.
Interesting enough, that's not even the worst part. Now the thing is, when you attend school and you reach somewhere standard, like standard 6,
Mm-hmm.
you are requested to repeat that standard.
Standard 6, that's like what here in like primary
I-
6?
Yes.
Primary 6.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So you
at
are
the
requested
basic
to
level.
repeat it again.
If you're a black South African.
Yep.
Why? Because
The whole idea was like what I read earlier. It wasn't to make you equal.
it's just to frustrate you.
Exactly.
And eventually you just drop
Yes.
out.
And you weren't supposed to be more than something more than like a manual labor. Okay? You're supposed to still be unskilled, but with, if you just an idea of
A and
10
B.
left, right, that's
yeah.
it.
No road signs and
Yes.
you're
So
good
the
to
whole
go.
thing wasn't built to make you prosper
To
or anything.
liberate you
No.
in a formal way. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So so these whole issues plus, so the whole thing that broke the entire system
Mm.
was that final introduction of African as a medium of instruction. It was like, no, we are not having this. And even before that, through all these, they had student organizations. They simply coming
Yeah,
together and, having
taking
conversations
mapping out
surrounding
their
this
own
whole issue.
exactly. Mm.
And by then, I think tensions had boiled over. And
So let me get this
they
straight.
didn't
So
take
the
it.
students resisted the introduction of the African language
Yes,
to be taught as a medium, to be like that
as a
should be
medium of instruction.
of
in their
instruction
schools.
in the schools.
Yes, and I'm saying that all these issues
Mm-hmm.
before that,
There were other,
yes, so these were
ones
all
lying
issues that
down,
yes,
waiting to
yes,
be right.
yes, that started it. But then
Mm.
the introduction of that was just everything that destroyed
Okay.
the entire system.
Mm.
And I think that should have told them. They were starting to get conscious of the things that were happening around them.
Like it's
no.
like a deliberate effort to just ruin your life.
And all they wanted was to go to school.
Right.
Okay, they were not trying to kill anybody. Okay, they just wanted to go
To
to
go
school.
to school.
It just reminded me of the one time we discussed the issue of the Little Rock Nine here that had to take the introduction. The president in the United States, the president
Yeah.
had to step in to get these 9 African American kids.
Yeah, out of with
to
with
get- to walk
escorts
into
and all,
school.
security and all. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so it just goes to tell you how much power the youth wield.
Mm-hmm.
If they actually rise up, if they decide that look, enough is enough.
Is enough.
Because
yeah.
at the end of the day, power is in the hands of the youth, or it's in the hands of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not the select few that are up
The
there and-
minority,
and,
yeah.
and taking decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So, but generally, you look at everything that happened, you
Mm.
realize that this started a series of events that eventually changed the educational system. Is not just even the educational system, but entirely how the apartheid system operated.
turn out.
Yes,
Mm.
in South Africa
Mm.
anyway.
Okay, thank you, Hafiz, for the startup. The show was Africa Daily on Africa Global Radio, and we're discussing South Africa Youth Month, where we're actually trying to connect with a South African, Tsholofelo Mashego. I'm taking my time to pronounce the name because I'm not a perfectionist in that area. But she was supposed to join us via Zoom. Still hoping that works out. To tell us more about this particular day and the month generally in South Africa. But as Hafiz rightfully mentioned, it just stemmed from the uprising in 1976, where students had to stand up for things that they saw to be not in place, something that is not supposed to happen. Yeah, they tell you to go to school, but it's like punishing you whilst going to school. For a white South African, kid to have 600 and how many?
It was just simply oppression through inferiority.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
644 rand.
For
as
an
against-
as against 42 rand for an entire black,
An
school.
individual,
Come on. That's typically not fair. So let me get on to Epifania and hear her take on South Africa, because we're definitely going to tie this to, one of the current conversations that's taking place, especially here in our base Ghana, in Nigeria, and other, South African regions as well. Epi,
Barry,
South Africa Youth Month.
yeah, Barry, Hafiz has given a history of it and what has led to and where we find ourselves now.
Right.
It's very disturbing, but we know when it comes to the apartheid, when it comes to racism, these are not things you want to remember and be smiling. They're not pleasant experiences that one has experience. But it was very, for me, I feel it was very good and very important and very courageous for those youths to actually lay down their lives to fight against something.
Okay.
And it has stood for something to all these years. Right now, they have the National Youth Development Agency, and they're actually working to ensure that the youth in South Africa is really considered.
Okay.
Yes, as much as per last year's, their fourth quarter report for last year by the Labor Department, they realized that 8.6 million people are not in education or are unemployed, but they're still finding different things to do, different activities,
Okay.
different programs in which the youth can engage to equip them with certain skills and keep them going. So I feel it was something that started like a chain reaction, and South Africa doesn't take their youth for granted. I mean, that became like a pillar for them. It doesn't make them take their youth for granted at all. They're very happy and they're concerned about the development of the youth. And in this month like this, you have the government and its agencies. I'm talking about the National Youth Development Agency.
Okay.
One thing is they host a number of engagements. They actually engage with the youth in different activities and different organizations, putting them in different capacities just so they can highlight the importance of the youth
Right.
in this month as well. Yeah.
All right. Great.
And the theme for this year is actually the year of Charlotte Manya. I just don't want to pronounce the last
Yeah.
name wrong, but it's Maxeke is an X Maxeke.
Okay.
Charlotte Manya Maxeke.
That's
I just want to be sure I have the name right. It's the year of Charlotte Manya Maxeke, growing youth employment for an inclusive and transformed society.
Okay. So I'm going to be coming on that one later on. But, Mami,
Hi, Barry.
unfortunately, we couldn't connect to your friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
She texted that she didn't have electricity about an hour ago.
Oh, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Happy, what happened? ESCOM, are they still... I thought they were on... No, I mean, Happy has first-hand info. I thought ESCOM were gradually migrating to clean energy.
They haven't finished.
Really?
It doesn't take a day to.
Haven't you called the one in charge, ESCOM,
No,
the
I
CEO?
haven't.
You should try and get in
They
touch with the
haven't
man and that's
finished.
here.
They haven't.
We just want to know.
I
mean, we thought...
I feel
this is where...
Mami's friend should actually go get one of the solar, the mobile solar powers you can put in your house.
Is it for
and use.
free?
No, you
It's
have to
expensive.
patronize it.
Solar stuff
ESCOM is
are
not
really
for free
expensive.
either.
Anyway,
So I just advise you get an
this
alternative.
is where
we
my
have a lot of
this is
solar
where
startups growing up in South Africa and trying to provide alternative to the problem. Because when you look at South African power, it's like
it's
not
an
a-
issue.
not a friendly
I mean, we
issue,
always
so
we always bash
we should
Nigeria with
patronize
NEPA.
it.
This is what Nigeria says. When I talk about NEPA, ESCOM is a but with ESCOM, I think it's because of the distribution to other, African countries. And I mean, you mentioned this some time ago. It's not just South Africa; it's producing electricity for other nations as well, close by in Eastern Africa. But yeah, Mami,
Barry.
yeah. Is the Youth Month in South Africa?
Yes, I mean, Hafiz talked about the 1976 Youth Uprising.
Right.
And I believe if anybody has watched the movie Sarafina, then they will get a clear idea
Yeah.
about what the uprising
Starring, is it Whoopi Goldberg? Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg. You've watched it before?
Yes, so many times. I can actually sing all of the songs.
Give me one. Just go. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go.
No, you're not gonna put me on the spot.
I just
like that.
did. It's not like I just did. So just go. You
No.
said you can actually. So that's,
Yes!
yeah. So give me
That
one.
doesn't mean I'm going to give you a performance.
Not a form. I didn't say you should dance. Just
It's
just
still a
sing.
performance.
Just sing.
Are you guys going to
Just
play?
sing.
Walk the talk.
After the show.
After the show. Okay. No.
see her
No.
manager.
No problem. No problem. Right.
Yeah, so if you've watched the
Sarafina movie.
Sarafina movie, then you know that you have an idea about whatever it is that happened, how the students had to fight,
Right.
how they had to lay their lives, and everything that took place during that era. And what I can say is, what excites me most, usually when we mark a day, we talk about the things that happen and we talk about the way moving forward.
Right.
But on the day, which is actually the 16th of June, everybody in South Africa wears a school uniform.
Including the president. Cyril
Anybody
Ramaphosa?
who wants to.
Okay.
I don't think it is mandatory, but it is just to remember
Yeah.
all of the students that gave their
Because that
lives
event
up.
actually played a significant role in the what do you call it, the positioning of the youth today in South Africa. So definitely one would want to be in school uniforms. Okay, and I hear South Africa is one of the country that actually has the best like school uniforms. In
Oh yeah,
Africa.
the uniforms are nice.
Yeah.
I watched the series Blood and Water,
Mhm.
and yeah, the uniforms are really really nice.
Okay.
So T just texted me, so
That
I
she's
mean,
getting back.
yeah, I have to send a new link to her. So
All right, so do so. While you're doing so, let's just get back to conversation now. Let me get to Hafiz. So, if you notice this year's theme, it says youth and employment for an inclusive and transformed society. So it means that this issue of unemployment thing is not just lingering around the sub-Saharan regions of Africa, but it's also happening, at the bottom end of the continent, and it's a big issue.
It's not a continental problem. It's a global problem. It's
Mm.
global.
Mm.
Youth everywhere.
Mm.
I mean, you're starting. I mean, you want to start a life.
Mm.
I mean, the first thing you want is to earn a living.
Right.
Yes, and but then again, uh, unfortunately, in certain systems that you grow in, you realize the odds are stacked against you right from the jump.
Okay.
I mean, uh, opportunities are few in
Mm.
between, and you don't even know where to hold on to.
Right.
And yesterday, the conversation even traveled to the fact that we talked about the role of parents in trying to, accommodating the circumstance of their kids.
Exactly.
Yes, and one or two persons on the panel couldn't understand, couldn't relate.
Yeah.
Yes, but
Why a parent wouldn't understand their children, for not getting a
For-
job and
for-
all of that.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So you realize, I mean, not everyone is having a swell time out there trying to
Mm.
find a job.
Right.
Yes, and these days, I mean, for some parents, like I mentioned, I mean, all they wanted to see was to, go out there and carry my clear bag out around
Mhm.
with your certificates all
Yeah,
over the
with your,
place,
with your bow tie and
sweating in the sun.
yeah, right. From one office
Just
to
to
the
show,
other.
just to show you are hunting for a job.
Right.
But these days, well,
Mm.
you can sit in the comfort of your home and send out like 10, 15, or thousands of applications
Mm.
on your laptop and not break a sweat.
Mhm.
But you still would have to,
Exactly.
be met with certain hurdles. So,
Mm.
yes, it's a global issue. It's an issue that worries a lot of people, especially governments, on how to tackle it. Some have had to partner with the private sector, but
Mm.
even with that, it comes with its
Still
own
not
issues.
enough,
Yes,
huh?
because yes, there are instances where we're not just talking, employment, but are you, fully employed? Are you being used to your fullest potential?
Right.
Yes, we've had issues of underemployment where someone that probably studied, commerce or whatever,
It's doing something
yes,
else.
he goes out there and
Start
he's
ga-
doing something else.
Yeah.
Yes, I know a friend that studied. I think he studied at Greek. Yes,
Okay.
he's in the bank now.
What is he doing?
So
We don't farm there, do we?
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so you are even
I
in
think
a
the
system
system
where
itself is not positioned to identify where you need to be, where your strength, should be. It's like let's just because even with our base Ghana with the national service thing that you do, maybe you studied like you said commerce, you should find yourself in a financial sector or if it as a space that has to do with finance.
remember on the same platform we're discussing an issue of where I brought out a stats about how 90% of people were unhappy at their jobs.
With a job. Yeah,
Yes.
90%.
So
90%.
a lot of people are walking around and not happy with what they are doing in life. So the whole idea is just wake up and go through the motions. And you
But
could-
maybe it pays. That's the thing. Yeah?
but
The money.
that says a lot about how we run our system and the sort of issues we have. Because if you have people that are, it's one thing to do something that pays, and it's another thing to
do something that you love.
you are passionate about.
True.
Yes.
True. All right, the show was Africa Daily on Africa Global Radio. While we're still trying to connect to Tsholofelo in South Africa to tell us more about the South Africa Youth Month, let me hear Epi as we tie this conversation to unemployment, as this is actually the theme for the year in South Africa. Youth employment for an inclusive and transformed society. So, the issue of unemployment is not just in the western part or the sub-regions of Africa, South Africa. I have as mentioned, it's a global, issue. Epi.
Very.
Mm.
Yeah, I think I don't know, we spoke about unemployment yesterday, and we spoke about that it was a ticking time bomb, and I don't know what else we're supposed to say, but if the leaders can't recognize unemployment is going to create a big problem for them, and for the nation, especially for the security of a nation, then I feel we're not putting the right places in place, the people in the places of power. Because I don't know, sometimes it's not about just being able to get the people billions of CDs a month or something, but putting them in jobs that satisfy, creating the opportunities for them. We have certain people that go to certain schools and then they learn certain courses and they know they can never practice those courses here.
Right.
They have to go outside because the opportunities and the structures and things have not been put in place for them to do it. So then I just want to learn it and then go there. When I go there, I get a better way to do it. I get the opportunity and then they actually get better money for it. But then it's like we're not even looking at getting to a place where we ourselves can create the opportunity or set certain structures in place that we have children who can learn this or youth who can practice this after they learn it. Most people are seeking opportunities in different sectors, mining in different places, but then they have to go to the other countries, the advanced countries, because that's where the opportunities are, and that's where they can put to practice, put their hands to what they have studied in classrooms here.
Right. Okay, thank you, Epi. Yesterday I listened to this, what do you call it? This conversation on radio. I mean, the guy studied in Ghana, okay? Went to school in Ghana, studied and all of that, but wasn't that productive in terms of, first of all, he didn't get a job, okay? So if you don't get a job, the second go-to or the immediate thing that you need to think about is you being creative to, be to be self-employed, to have that entrepreneurial, mindset. But still, he had to travel outside to, I think, Switzerland. Go get studies, some technical engineering, something. Got back. Now he was able to establish himself. Start his little company, and actually he's doing very well. So does this stem from our educational system to the job? Because when you leave the job market, this is a space where they tell you you don't have the necessary skill set to fit in this particular job market. Okay, do we have her online now? Okay, Hafiz, I think you can hold that one as we have Tsholofelo Mashego. I hope I pronounced that correctly online right about now. Hello, good afternoon, and well, I don't know what time it is right now there, but it's afternoon here. So good day, just to be safe. And thank you for joining us on the Africa Daily Show again. It's good to see you.
Yes, thank you so much. It is actually in the afternoon, so good afternoon.
Right. How have you been doing?
I am freezing cold. This year's winter is just on a different level.
Who says there's no winter in Africa? Check it out. Check it out in South Africa. Amazing. Wow. So, well, it's been a bit difficult trying to connect to you. Mami mentioned that earlier, but glad to have you back. So, South Africa Youth Month, let's just go straight to it before we get disconnected again. South Africa Youth Month, how's it going in there?
Okay, so Youth Month this year, I doubt it will be as exciting as it had been for the previous years because we have the third wave and the numbers are rising. So there are new measures in place that the government put. So the celebrations won't be as exciting as they were in the previous years. But it is still a very special day.
Right.
Yeah, so it's still a very special day. The youth of 1976 is definitely unforgettable. So, and the things they achieved back then, I mean, these are things that are still here now. These are the things that keep us going now.
Right. So you talked about how it wouldn't be as exciting as it used to be during the previous year. So what are some of the things that you guys do, during this month that makes it exciting? Yeah.
So the most exciting thing is it is a public holiday. So everyone gets time off work and school and everything. And everyone actually dresses up in school uniform. So no matter how old you are, even in the workplace the previous day, employees would be expected to come in dressed in school uniform to just commemorate and remember the youth of 1976. Because we had about 10,000 youth that actually marched on the day for education.
Right. Right. Yeah. So by that day, you're talking about the 16th of June, which is next week, Wednesday. Yes.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. So tell me, how has what has changed in the educational sector since that March? In as much as yes, it has brought about a lot of change, but what has that change been, and how has that impacted in the youth in South Africa?
Okay, so the biggest change we moved, or what they did, is they achieved for us to move from the Bantu education system. So the Bantu education system, I think, was established in 1956, right? Which was just, it created like a very, very low educational standards for Black people. So the kind of education that they were offered was called Bantu education, specifically for Black people. And that was the type of education that couldn't even allow them to do anything, actually, wouldn't have opened opportunities for them.
Right.
So after the 1976, there was education. So the same education that was offered to the Afrikaner people was now offered to Black people as well. So that has created a lot of opportunities for us Black people to get education, for us Black people to have positions, for us Black people to actually have opportunities of being either self-employed or being employed, by a company. Yeah.
Okay. All right. The show was Africa Daily on Africa Global Radio. I'm speaking to Tsholofelo in South Africa, a global success advocate, and it's all about the South Africa Youth Month. She's live with us via Zoom. If you're live with us right now, yeah, you can listen to it, but you can watch it later on YouTube if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Africa Global Radio, or later on demand on Africa Global Radio. .com. Now, this year's theme is Charlotte Mashego, Youth Employment for Inclusive and Transformed Society. First of all, tell us, who is Charlotte Mashego? Or Mashego, yeah, is that correct?
Charlotte Mashego.
Oh, Mashego. Okay, Mashego. Hold on, before that, you're a Zulu or a Xhosa? Xhosa.
I'm actually Eddie.
Yep.
I'm actually Betty.
Okay. Right.
It's a different language.
Okay. So anyway, let's go. So Charlotte Mashego. Easy, Barry. All right, let's go. So tell us about Charlotte.
Okay, so Charlotte Mashego, I think it's Mashego. So she's one of the ladies that led the strikes in 1956, where I think it was in 1956, where the women just marched to kind of get women to get the same opportunities that the men were getting, get women to just kind of get the same respect that the men were getting. I think they marched on the 9th of August, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Which now that day today is called Women's Day, which is also a public holiday.
Right. Okay.
And she also has a hospital named after her because of that. She's
very influential. That is great. And also, it goes along to say youth employment for an inclusive and transformed society. Now, recently in our base in Ghana here, there has been some study by the National Commission for Civic Education talking about the fact that if care is not taken, due to the rising number of unemployment in the youth, amongst the youth, it could actually lead to extremism. Now, this particular theme for this year is actually on a similar tangent. Is it about the fact that the youth are actually finding it difficult to get a job in South Africa, or the fact that they are not being included in decision making? Did that inform this year's theme?
Yeah, I think it is extremely difficult for the youth to find employment here in South Africa. I think also with the economy being as bad as it is, companies have grown to be very picky with the kind of talents they allow into their spaces, right? But then we also have a problem where half of the youth can't get educated because we don't have enough resources. Even from primary school, the type of education that they receive, or just a limitation within resources, right? And then now when you get to varsity, you don't qualify for some of the things that have more job opportunities.
Right, right.
So now you end up finding people, like 10,000 people just doing one course. Obviously, when it gets to now getting into the workplace, they're not going to take all
All
10,000
of
of
them.
them.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Mm,
So it is extremely difficult to find employment here in South Africa,
mm.
especially for the youth.
With the
Yes.
youth. Okay. So what is the youth in South Africa looking to achieve? Are they looking to have a table conversation with the government, or there's going to be another, protest? Because I mean, you're in the third wave in South Africa. Clearly, there wouldn't be that much of a noise in terms of trying to get the government to, okay, now this is what we want. So what's the plan B in terms of this year's theme? Are you looking to sit down with the government, or there some kind of a petition going on?
I think what the government has tried to do as well is to just limit, you, reduce the limitations with getting into self-employment. So most of the youth, there's actually a lot of funding that's been made available to the youth. There's the National Youth Development Agency, so you can go to them, pitch your idea,
Okay.
and if it's good enough for you, they can give you funding. But there are also other companies that fund their small business,
Right.
small, medium businesses that we have here. So right now, the only plan for the youth is self-employment going forward.
Okay, I think this is all time will permit us, because we really had difficulty reaching you, so we spent a bit of time here in the studio. But thank you very much, Tsholofelo, for joining us on the Africa Daily Show, talking about South Africa Youth Month. And I heard the Sarafina movie, which I think we need to go watch again, has a lot of story behind this 1976 uprising, yes?
Yeah, so the whole movie is based on the 1976
Right.
June 16.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to be checking that out. But thank you so much. And get yourself some hot coffee. Me being a professional chef,
man.
that's something that could work out. But thank
There's
you.
load shedding in South Africa, so electricity is a
Yes,
problem.
load shedding. Yeah, we need to have a conversation with Eskom. Yeah, we need to have a big conversation with Eskom. Well, thank you so much.
To be unreliable.
All right, bye-bye. Take care. And that was Tsholofelo from South Africa. We just connected to her. Proved a bit difficult, but yeah, we finally did it, and she gave us, how is it going on there, and what are some of the things that they're looking to do. In as much as it has been some of the most joyful day or month in the whole year in South Africa, but they're in the third wave, so it will be a bit difficult for them to really express how passionate they are, especially the youth, about this particular day. But come what may, they are certainly on that tangent of letting those people in places of position to listen to their plea and get them involved. Inclusive society, employment, very, very important. But let me take my final take from my colleagues, and then we can move on to our next segment. Hafiz.
Yeah. Well, she's giving clarity to some of the things that
Right.
we mentioned on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you wanted to tie this to employment before the call came in.
Right.
But then, looking at it from the employment angle, I mean, if you take South Africa, take South Africa in itself as an example or
Right.
a case study. Every now and then, we get these disturbances with foreigners. And
Yeah.
yes, if you look at the heart of it, if you perform some proper diagnosis of the situation, you'd realize that at the heart of it all is about employment and jobs. Because a lot of the time when you find these attacks or these disturbance news emanating from South Africa,
It has to do with jobs.
oh, foreigners are taking up
Taking
their
on
jobs and everything.
Yeah.
But that isn't even usually the case. Okay, because even the jobs they are talking about foreigners taking, they come there and they do menial jobs. Okay, your blue collar jobs, as it were, jobs most locals would refuse to do. But then, if this situation was tackled, every now and then you wouldn't have these situations flare up.
Right.
Yes, because at the end of the day, I think we even had a conversation about it with her on the same platform, asking what the government has done or is doing to prevent future occurrences.
Attacks and all.
But it's like nothing is being done. So you are waiting just for the next wave of
another,
attack.
yeah.
And then you come out, issue statements and
It's
blah
under
blah blah, and
control
show
and
support
all.
and everything. But then talking about universities and the way and their role or the education system, because I mean, if you look at the Soweto incident, it's tied to education and everything, and employment. You can't talk about employment and not talk about education.
Right.
And if you look at how the system is run, I mean, at the end of the day, universities are measured by their recruitability and not their employability. A lot of them, yes, the whole idea is to put you out there. Whatever it is you go out there to do,
Yeah, they are done
they're not
with you.
concerned them.
Yeah.
Yes, and some universities, unfortunately, have been accused of running some unaccredited courses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
And you have VCs that supervise these things. So you come there, pay huge sums of money, only to come out probably
and
the
course
cost
that is not even accredited.
it's not credited,
Whoa.
and it is of no use out there to to the outside world.
Big
And then
loss.
You come out there and you're stuck.
Big loss.
So in one of the concerns, I think there are very nice laws surrounding this, because in Ghana here, I think as a VC, if you supervise something like that, you are likely to go up, get arrested.
Wow.
Yes, and you are going to be imprisoned for up to 20 years.
Yeah, that's like you, like ruining someone's life.
20 years, and you could be paying a fine of not more than 240,000 Ghana cedis.
Wow.
So that's how seriously the law takes it. But does it bite?
That's the thing. Does it bite? Thank you for your final submission, Hafiz. Let me take final one from Epi and then Mami so we can wrap up. Epi? Okay, well said. Mami, want to top up? Yeah.
I just want to say Happy Youth Month.
To all South Africans.
And Happy Youth Day in advance to all the youth in South Africa. And I think this is something, in as much as it is to mark an event that happened 45 years ago, I think every nation should have a Youth Month and a Youth Day.
Yeah.
Where we talk everything about the youth on that day.
Yeah.
What are they going through?
What do they? Yeah. What do they want?
Need? Let's listen to the youth, because we're always going on and on about how the youth is the future of the world.
But there's nothing being done. No roadmap. Nothing.
But they do things, and then it is to benefit the people who are already old.
Exactly.
We are not listening to the youth. We are not taking the views of the youth, who are seemingly the future of the world, into consideration. And I think that is something that we have to look at. The governments have to look at.
All right, thank you, Mami, thank you so much for that. The show was Africa Daily on Africa Global Radio.
Enjoy the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.